My dad was an alcoholic. My grandparents were alcoholics. My parents fought a lot, and I could hear it, and I could hear her screaming, and I could hear them fighting and hollering, and I remember being scared, and I would sing. I would sing songs to myself to try to make myself not hear them. I really didn't think I needed God in my life, you know. I thought I was handling things just fine. Then I got pregnant at 15. So my dad was very, very upset at the fact that I got pregnant at 15 years old. And he didn't want to talk to me because his exact statement to me was that I had sinned. And I was like, what? He said I had sinned, and therefore he didn't want to talk to me. And I was like, are you serious? My principal told me I should drop out of school because I was a pregnant child and I was going to have a baby. They didn't want that. They didn't want that in their school. They didn't want that for their image. I didn't want to be another statistic. I worked very, very hard to graduate on time. At 10 months old, I found out that my son was deaf. I went to pull a pan out, and 50 of them dropped, you know, and like it made a big boom. And even me holding him in that boom, he didn't wake up. And I was like, I mean, how did he just sleep through that? So I took him to his pediatrician and did a test to find out, and he was deaf. He was deaf in both ears. My grades were struggling a little bit because I was trying to like go to school and be a mom and go to work. There was just not enough time. I couldn't study and see my parents and spend time with my child. So somebody suggested that I just do a little bit of meth. There for a while, I really thought it was helping me. I mean, I was getting better grades. I had so much extra time. What I neglected to realize is that your body requires sleep. So all this extra time that you're getting eventually catches up with you. It makes you sick. When I tried it the first time, I just snorted a little bit of it, and it kind of made my head tingle, but I was awake. And usually I worked in Atlanta, and then I would come home for like an hour, and then I would go to school. Usually on the way there, I would fall asleep and like wake up inches away from the median. So that first time I tried it, and I was awake all the way to school. Not once did I fall asleep. So I was like, wow, I made it here. And so I called my friend. I'm like, I'm awake, and I'm at school, and school's over. And I made it all the way through class, didn't fall asleep one time. This stuff is awesome. Can you get me some more of it? And she's like, yeah. So I started using it every week. I was using it Monday through Friday so that I could, you know, stay awake. And I thought it was doing me great. I was actually in an abusive relationship, and he was on drugs, and I got pregnant. I didn't find out till I was over 3 months pregnant, and I just felt like I obviously had to have done some harm to her. I had done so much stupid stuff when I was pregnant with her. I wasn't gonna keep her. I had been using, and I'd been drinking, I had been partying. My son was at it every weekend that my son would go to his dad's. That whole weekend I would party. I actually had the money up to get an abortion, and I was walking out the door, and they come to cut the power off. And the exact amount that I had for the abortion was the exact amount they needed to keep the power on. I was like, are you serious right now? And I was devastated. I cried and cried for 2 days. I stopped using, but I steadily tried to find anybody around me that could help me try to come up with the money, you know, to get an abortion, because I didn't want to have this baby. Thank God I straightened up and got sober, because I was having that baby. But really, when she was born, like, it did help me. I was so happy to have a child that I could keep for all mine. You know, like, I didn't have to send her off to her dad's because I lived with her dad. When I got pregnant with Autumn, my third child, her dad, Andy, had just come out of rehab. and he was doing really well. He was staying with his great uncle, and I was staying with my grandmother. And kind of back to back, my grandmother passed away, and his great uncle passed away, which left us both without a home. I had 3 children and nowhere to go. We both ended up moving in with my second child's dad, which was very uncomfortable. Needless to say, that did not last long. We both ended up going our separate ways because actually the whole time that I was with Andy, he had a girlfriend on the side that I found out about and didn't want to deal with any of that. I met this guy through Andy, and he told me that he would take care of me, that Andy didn't have money to take care of me, he hadn't been taking care of me, and he was an older man and he had money, and I had children that needed to be taken care of, and why wouldn't I make the choice to be with him? And so I did. He had drugs in the house, and the police came, and that was the first time, my first go around with defects, and it was horrible. I was at a party, and someone brought a bowl of meth out, and I thought I hadn't done it in a long time. I could just do it once, it wouldn't be a big deal. And I did it once, and then once became twice, and I started using it again, just a little bit here and there, and then I got in trouble again, and I got in trouble big time this time. We were all actually moving out at this point, and while I was moving, the police came, and defects came, and it was just a mess. When defects came, they came and they took me to jail. They took everybody there to jail. They took my kids. They wouldn't even let me talk to my kids from jail. Sitting in jail, I felt so alone. And the only place you get to go when you're in jail is like to church or NA meetings or AA meetings. And I met people there that everybody kept talking about God, and I was like, at first I was thinking, I'm in jail. God can't hear me from in here. God doesn't want anything to do with me. I mean, how big of a disappointment could I possibly be? I'm sitting in jail. I don't have my kids. I felt worthless. Felt like what was the point of even being? Through defects, they were just telling me that I couldn't see my kids. I prayed to God that he would just give me some way that I could get to see my kids. And then some lady came in there saying that she went to SAFT and that she was seeing her kids through SAFT before she got arrested. And I was like, okay, so the first thing I did when I got out of jail was looked up the SAFT agency. And I called there and I talked to them, and they told me that I could refer myself, that if defects hadn't referred me, that I could refer myself. And I did. The first time I went to SAFT, I told them that I wanted every class they had. I told them that my life was a mess, and that I wanted to be able to see my kids. And so they did. They signed me up for every class that they had. And I don't think they actually knew that I was as serious as I was. But I went to I took their parenting classes, I took their Celebrate Recovery class, I took their budgeting class. I got my kids back about 2 months ago, and the parent aide I had while I was attending SAFT. Anytime I have any questions, I still call her, and she's still there for me. I still call Holly at the front desk. I've talked to Brian. I've went up there and needed a baby gate. I've needed things, and every time I've needed something, they've been there for me. I've met so many wonderful people through there. What I like about staff the most, I guess, is that it feels like a family there. They make me feel like I'm part of their family. If I need something, they don't criticize me. They try to help me. They looked at me with compassion in their eyes. If it hadn't been for SAFT, I probably wouldn't have my kids back. And I probably would be using still. SAFT is, I feel like it's part of my family now. My girls love each and every person there, even like when like they asked to go up and see people there. Toni before SAFT was very selfish and codependent, and I'm still struggling with codependency, but now I have people that I can call and talk to, and I do. I have SAFT is like giving me a good resource center. It's a good place to turn to. So now, instead of as before, where I would call, one of my friends and they can maybe get me something to deal with whatever, I call someone from SAFT, and they'll usually pray with me and tell me maybe a different way of looking at whatever situation I'm going through at the time, and we work it out. To SAFT and the people at SAFT, thank you. Thank you so very, very much for everything you've done for me. I am very thankful and very blessed to have each and every one of you in my life. My life has definitely changed for the better.